Okay, everyone, welcome. We've got a few meetings tonight, so bear with us. Just so everyone knows, we're going to start with a Jersey Village Fire Control Prevention and Emergency Medical Services District meeting, followed by the regular session of the Jersey Village City Council, which will include a public hearing in conjunction with our Planning and Zoning Commission. So just as a housekeeping measure, I just want to make sure our council members that are appearing virtually, are y'all able to hear me just fine? Okay, good. We got indications from both that they can hear us. So, okay, then we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and start by calling to order this meeting of the Board of Directors of the Jersey Village Fire Control Prevention and Emergency Medical Services District. This for November 21st, 2022. The time is now 7:01 p.m. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum of directors present?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. That brings us to citizens' comments. Any person who desires to address the City of Jersey Village FCPEMSD Board regarding an item on the agenda will be heard at this time in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Unless the subject matter of the comment is on the agenda, the city staff and directors are not allowed to discuss the subject. Each person is limited to 5 minutes for comments to the board. Now, I don't believe I have any comment cards that are for this particular meeting. And so that being the case, then we are going to go ahead and move on to item C, consider approval of the minutes of the Fire Control Prevention and Emergency Medical Services District meeting held on July 18th, 2022. Board Secretary.
Just looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from July 18th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes? All of those against? Oh, sorry. Any abstentions? I believe the minutes are approved unanimously. That brings us to item D, consider resolution 2022-02, amending the Fire Control Prevention and Medical Services District budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023 in the amount not to exceed $37,648 by increasing line item 49-26-9760, transfer to Capital Improvement Fund, to provide funding for the Jersey Village Fire Department roof replacement project. Mark Bitts, Fire Chief.
Board of Directors, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Tonight we're asking for an additional $37,648 to be added to our budget for the replacement of the roof at the fire station. Initially we budgeted $175,000. The quotes came in higher. The lowest quote from Greater Houston Roofing came in at $212,648. So it leaves us $37,648 shy. The next quote above that was $476,000. So there is a great increase from above that last $212,001. If approved tonight, it will transfer into the capital improvement at line item 49-26-9760. And then into Capital Improvement Fund line item 10-90-9760. So we're just asking for that additional funding so we can get the roof replaced.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chief. Any discussion amongst the directors on this item?
Chief, you mentioned the bids. Did you get 3 of those?
We got 2 of them. The Greater Houston Roofing is a vendor with the Texas Interlocal Purchasing Systems, just like Byboard and HDAC. So since I remember that we really only needed one, we did our due diligence trying to get a couple, and the other highest was just way out.
Appreciate it.
Any other discussion amongst the Board of Directors? If not, I would entertain a motion at this time.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2022-02.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. We'll credit it to the second to Councilmember McCray since she's dealing with a little latency there. So we'll call her first on that one. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously, which brings us to adjournment for this particular meeting. I'm now going to call to order. I'm sorry, let me let Lori get to the next set of notes there. She told me she needed a second. Okay. I'm now going to call to order this regular meeting of the Jersey Village City Council for Monday, November 21st, 2022. The time is now 7:06 p.m. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum of council present?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. That brings us to invocation and pledge of allegiance by Stephanie Otto, commander of the Jeremy E. Ray American Legion Post 324.
Please uncover. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recover.
Great, thank you very much. The next couple of items I'm going to call all together. We've got a number of presentations, so C1, 2, and 3, starting with presentation of Police Department Employee of the Third Quarter by Stephanie Otto, commander of the Jeremy E. Ray American Legion Post 324.
Thank you. Each quarter, the American Legion Post 324 Jersey Village Police Department Employee of the Quarter Selection Committee meet to review a list of candidates selected by their peers. This is in no way a simple task, as all employees of the department are outstanding individuals that serve a purpose greater than themselves. For the third quarter of 2022, the American Legion Selection of the Quarter is Corporal Thomas Brodus. Corporal Brodus has shown a high level of professionalism, dedication, and productivity. He loves his job and his work performance shows it. We thank you for your service and dedication to this department and our community. All these attributes work together to ensure that Jersey Village Police Department works smoothly and provides residents peace of mind and makes Jersey Village a destination community. Many other officers were nominated this quarter as well. Thank you for your continued performance and dedication to our community.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and the citizens of Jersey Village. It's an honor and a privilege to get to do some presentations tonight honoring a couple of our officers. The first up tonight is going to be Lieutenant Heath Hawley. In December of 2020, Lieutenant Heath Hawley volunteered to be the project manager overseeing the implementation of the new Tyler Technology Public Safety upgrade. This project required him to be involved in multiple users, including fire, communications, records, evidence, IT, police staff, in preparation for our April 24th, 2022 go-live date. He's done an exceptional job planning, organizing, and coordinating with these departments to minimize unforeseen issues during the implementation phase. This has been a tedious job requiring hundreds of hours of research, conference, Zoom calls with Tyler staff, training on all modules, just to name a few of the responsibilities the project manager has. This essential upgrade now provides our first responders and communications staff with a state-of-the-art software that has allowed them to deliver an even higher level of customer service to our community. On Wednesday, January 5th, 2022, he was the first officer to arrive on the scene of the officer-involved shooting. He quickly secured the scene, contacted the Texas Rangers, and managed the scene with confidence. On Sunday, February 13th, 2022, our patrol officers responded to a homicide that occurred at one of our apartment complexes. He took on the responsibility of lead investigator while already assisting the Texas Rangers with a multi-million-dollar fraud case. These are just a few examples of the past year of what he's demonstrated, a willingness to take the initiative beyond his regular job assignments. Lieutenant Holly is a man of integrity, strong work ethics, and a valuable member of the command staff who is always willing to listen to his staff. Lieutenant Holly is worthy to receive the Police Commendation Bar for his outstanding contribution to law enforcement through the success of difficult situations, with such contribution to be made at a highly professional degree of accomplishment. Lieutenant Holly, congratulations. The next award is going to be the Police Commendation Bar, Lieutenant Danny Keel. And I also have some other bars, Certificate of Merits, but I'm going to start with Lieutenant Keel. On June 16th and 17th, Lieutenant Keel demonstrated outstanding leadership during two back-to-back critical situations when he had to manage two officer-involved shootings in less than a 48-hour period. He quickly secured the scene, contacted the Texas Rangers, Houston SWAT, and managed the news media very well. He took on the responsibility to manage these multifaceted investigations with self-confidence. These are just a few of the recent situations he continues to demonstrate a willingness to take the initiative, resulting in inspiring and supporting the performance and achievements of others. He performs his duties at a level of efficiency and professionalism, a high level of efficiency and professionalism. He's a leader who demonstrates on a daily basis the ability to put theory into practical application in the most difficult of situations. During the June 17th officer-involved shooting, Sergeant Rodriguez, Corporal Aldava, Corporal Poster did an outstanding job containing an armed robbery suspect who had just discharged his weapon and threatened to kill two hostages he had inside the hotel room. These officers are being recognized and worthy to receive the Commendation Bar Certificate for Merit Departmental Award. Also, I have Sergeant, I'm promoting him. Officer Hill is going to be receiving the Certificate of Merit for him on June 16th, the day before the 17th officer-involved shooting. He was attempting to do a felony stop on armed robbery suspects when they displayed a weapon. He had to discharge his weapon, hit the car, didn't hit anybody, but he's getting that recognition also. Lieutenant Keel will be receiving the Police Commendation Bar for his outstanding contribution for law enforcement through the success of difficult situations, with such contributions being made in a highly professional degree of accomplishments. Sergeant Rodriguez, Corporal Aldava, Corporal Poster, and Officer Hill are receiving the Certificate of Merit for the excellence in work, bringing favorable recognition to the Jersey Village Police Department and performing their duties under unusual, complicated, and dangerous situations. Please join me congratulating these men. Corporal Aaron Holster. And Officer Dustin Gibb. Mayor, Council, one other thing I'd like to say, and this comes from the police department. On behalf of the men and women of the police department, I want to thank you all for the support the mayor and council has. There's other cities around our area that the officers don't have the support of their council, and it's affecting they're having officers leave. And I just want to thank you all that you have our back, and it means a lot to us. So on behalf of the men and women, thank you for a job protecting us.
Chief, thank you, and thank you to all of your officers, including those who have been recognized tonight. We really appreciate your dedication and your continued professionalism. Next up, we have presentation of Employee of the Month, Austin Blaze, City Manager.
Mayor and councilors, thank you. Our November 22 Employee of the Month is Isaac Racinos. Isaac, you want to join us up here? Isaac joined the city back in June of 2021 as an intern, recreation intern with the Parks and Rec Department, and he was promoted to Recreation and Events Coordinator in November of 2021. Isaac never hesitates to step in and assist with any task that's asked of him. He also takes the initiative to seek out problems and solve them on his own. He has worked well with each department to include them in all events, programs, and pool activities to bring the city closer as we work to increase synergy. He has partnered with the fire department so that both departments can work together on water rescues at the Clark Henry Pool. And this has allowed our first responders access to our facilities while also allowing our pool staff to learn from their expertise. Just one of the many examples in which Isaac has gone above and beyond for the team. Isaac ensures that he gives each task or challenge 100% of his attention and effort. He's always willing to gather information to put the research effort in to ensure he exhausts all potential resources until a solution has been met. He took over pool operations last year and worked diligently to fill and appropriately train our staff prior to the pool opening. This is not an easy task, and he handled it flawlessly. Not only was he able to train and schedule our staff appropriately, he contributed to one of the most successful and seamless pool seasons for Jersey Village. He has worked with the Parks Department to ensure preventative maintenance has been met and has battled adversity when it came to lack of resource availability. He thinks outside the box to ensure chemicals are always replenished and was able to recover from an untimely pool cleaning equipment failure to ensure the pool experienced limited closure. This is just a perfect example of how Isaac has been able to use all of his resources to find a solution, and this carries over to all aspects of the recreation department, including the events and programs. So Isaac, congratulations and thank you for all you do for us here in Jersey Village.
Thank you.
Isaac, phenomenal job. I know, doubtless, most people here have probably seen him running all over the place, making things happen, so it should come as a surprise to no one. Congratulations again. Okay, that brings us to item D1, conduct a joint public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission for the purpose of receiving oral comments from any interested persons concerning the proposal to amend the Jersey Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Building and Development, Article 1, General, Section 14-5, Definitions, and by amending definitions for certain uses. And, Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum of the Planning and Zoning Commission present?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. I now call to order this joint public hearing with the Planning and Zoning Commission at 7:21 p.m. Everyone desiring to speak should complete a public hearing comment card and present the card to the City Secretary. Each speaker will be given 5 minutes to present information concerning the proposal to amend the Jersey Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Building and Development, Article 1, General, Section 14-5, Definitions by amending definitions for certain uses. I do not currently have a card for this public hearing, and so we are going to go ahead and move on. There being no one desiring to speak, I now close this joint public hearing on the proposal to amend the Jersey Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Building and Development, Article 1, General, Section 14-5, Definitions, by amending definitions for certain uses. We're closing the meeting at 7:22 p.m. That now brings us to item E on our regular agenda for citizens' comments. Citizens who have signed a card and wish to speak to the City Council will be heard at this time in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Unless the subject matter of the comment is on the agenda, the City staff and City Council members are prevented from discussing the subject and may respond only with statements of factual information or existing policy. Citizens are limited to 5 minutes for their comments to the City Council. The first comment card I have is from Joe Hewitt.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. All righty. Good evening. My name is Joe Hewitt. I reside at 15917 Lakeview Drive. I'm coming tonight on behalf of Jersey Village Senior Outreach, JVSO, a 501c3 membership organization for residents of Jersey Village who are 55 years or better. This past year, JVSO, along with 2 other villages from Sausalito, California, and Madison, Wisconsin, were chosen to present on emergency preparedness and assistance to the Village to Village Network. On October 11th, there were over 500 people in attendance for this annual conference, which was conducted virtually. JVSO forwarded this presentation to you all for your viewing pleasure, but in case you were busy, I'm here to highlight some of the information from that presentation. First, I'll update you on JVSO. We remain an organization with very low dues with close to 200 members. We have a 3-person board of directors, a 9-person steering committee. There are approximately 70 volunteers who are primarily members who also happen to volunteer. We offer a robust calendar of monthly programs that are well attended, and we are a provider of direct support to members in need of a little extra assistance to remain safely and independently in their homes. The presentation at the annual conference in October was divided into 3 sections, with JVSO being the first to discuss the communication component of our emergency preparedness and assistance protocol. As a grassroots movement, we have been learning and growing since our conception in 2016. It was an honor to share our experience with other villages nationally, especially those that were in development. In February of 2021, when hit by the winter freeze, JVSO leaders determined that we had an opportunity to do a better job for our members. At that time, JVSO volunteers were very helpful in prepping members' homes in advance of the freeze, but we were not prepared for the grid to go down, leaving our members without power for several days. We were communicating with them via email, but only later discovered that some of our older members were not accessing their emails. It was determined that our members will read their text messages over other forms of communication. So at that point, JVSO worked closely with Helpful Village, our software provider, to create a texting feature. We followed this with 2 mock trials during the summer to work out any of the kinks. In the first trial, we sent out 175 texts, but only 75 members responded. So we analyzed and corrected the problems and repeated the next trial, which had significantly better results. It is also important to note that in the event of an emergency, JVSO does not solely rely on texting and emails for communication. We also have a phone tree of volunteers who call our identified high support members. Those are the people needing a little extra assistance, and we'll even set up a buddy system if necessary. But lo and behold, in August 2022, we had a real-time emergency event with the broken water main and the need to boil water. JVSO activated this communication notice via texting and our phone tree volunteers. Our members were extremely appreciative of this added communication, and we even had one member tell us that she was actually drinking water from the tap when she got the phone call. To conclude, JVSO's commitment to their members is not only to focus on the social and wellness aspects, but also to promote safety and independence for all of our members. We're extremely appreciative to the City Council members for your continued support and also the help of our fire and police departments. As a matter of fact, starting in 2023, Chief Bitts and Chief Riggs have recommended that JVSO meet with them quarterly to facilitate this continued relationship in helping our senior residents. That's all I've got for tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, very much, Joe. That's a lot of tremendous information, and thank you so much for JVSO for continuing to serve a crucial role in our community. The next public comment card I have is from Mark Zeller.
Hi there. I'm Mark Zeller. I've lived with my family in Jersey Village for a little over 30 years. And during that time, Jersey Village has proven to be a fairly well-run city and financially and fiscally very responsible. And I've got 2 thoughts in a compare and contrast with some of the things that the city is currently approaching. One is the golf course clubhouse, which I think there's among the community of Jersey Village residents a clear demand for it. I think there's a limitation currently on the capabilities and performance of that golf course due to an outdated facility. And so there's a situation in which you can take a look at the parking lot, if you will, at that golf course and see there's a community desire and demand, and the market need is somewhat clear based upon the information that currently exists. I would like to compare and contrast that with the concern I have about the idea of building a stadium in this land that is acquired by the city. Every project and every business has a return and risk analysis to associated with it. And my concern is, while in brainstorming it may be a good idea, I think the bar ought to be very high for the city, given how well it's been run all over these years. We're not in any kind of financial crisis. We don't have to take great risk. We just need not to wreck what has been a very well-run city. The questions I would ask the city to consider when they're looking at these projects: is there a large demand in the community for it? Is there an outcry among your residents that they need or want a stadium be built there? The second thing I would look to is there a clear market demand for a stadium of that ilk in that location? because without that clarity, the risk becomes, I think, for a conservatively run city that's been run very well, very high. And just on a top basis, one has to approach these projects looking for what they're not seeing, what they haven't thought of, whether it's the traffic, whether it's the railroad, whether it's the impact when the minor league team leaves, and we have an albatross or white elephant. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Those are all very good questions. I will take, I was going to mention this during my mayor and council comments portion, but I will go ahead and take the opportunity to plug the fact that we will have a couple of town halls dedicated specifically to the question of the stadium on Monday, December 5th, and Monday, January 12th, 2023. So we're probably going to be very limited on what we can discuss here today, but those will be opportunities, hopefully, where we'll be able to field in a little bit more detail some questions and concerns and some of to provide a little bit of information regarding the discussions that have already happened. So that was in my mayor's newsletter, so if you missed the dates, they're definitely in there, and I'm sure we'll be publicizing those a little bit more here in the weeks to come. The next comment card I have is from Bruce Bowden.
Evening. Bruce Bowden over on Lewis Street. I feel like I'm a broken record, but I'm up here to talk about the golf course again, 3 times straight. But I don't think you guys are serious. I don't see anything from the city manager, the finance person, the golf course committee, or you guys, any of you guys, trying to, in fact, entertain the idea of bringing the golf course to a close to break-even profitability move. But yet you're willing to pour $8.64 million into an expansion project that, even though it isn't in debt, okay, isn't in debt service, it's still money, citizens' money. How much will the course lose this year? Well, it was, what, $220,000 in October? Is that a good number? Okay, so if you prorate that per month, we're looking at pretty close to $300,000 down, probably by year's end. In addition to your $8.64 million, you're adding an additional pro to it, an assistant pro. You're adding $3 an hour to the workers. You'll probably have to add another person or two, so that isn't covered in this. So you're going to add another $150,000 if things stay the same. So you're looking probably $450,000. You're approaching $500,000 a year. Let's put it that way. And here, look at this discretion. I just love this. You guys don't care. It's like money just falls. Is it the old saying about sand in the Sahara? You'll just run out of it sooner or later. Don't worry. Well, what really bothers me most about this is the fact that if we're going to lose this much money, at some point, the citizens are going to say, dump it. I don't want my taxes increased. I don't want to pay for it any longer. You are pushing the camel over the edge. It will happen. People will get tired of supporting a bad cause. So, in short, I would like to see something done first. Some type of effort by the city, by the finance person, who really should be really complaining about this. The city manager, who is, I don't think he said anything in the last 3 times I've been here concerning the golf course and its profitability, or lack of. So, if we're going to approach this mentality with the baseball park, heaven forbid. Okay? I'll leave it at that. I got 2 grandkids at the house. My wife's there. I've got to report back.
Thank you, Bruce. And I apologize if I look like I was disinterested. I was actually trying to check your facts. I'm actually looking at the budget information we were provided in this meeting's packet. It shows that as of last month, of course, we're only 1 month into the fiscal year, actually it's not a loss. I'm showing a surplus of $265, actually almost $266,000 on the first month. So the golf course is profitable as of right now. It lost a little bit of money last year, but I think we're on the right course. So I hope that suffices to give you a little bit of feedback regarding how the golf course is doing. So thank you, sir. The next public comment card I have is from Jim Fields.
Hello, my name is Jim Fields. I live in 16413 St. Helier. Mayor and City Council, thank you for allowing me to contribute to tonight's meeting. One thing I want to say, speedy recovery for Councilwoman Ms. McCray, and my prayers to you. My first question is, and I guess, Mayor, this will come out, I think you said December 5th and in January, what purchases, exchange of value, real property, et cetera, are being proposed in the TERS #2 business project? I guess that's going to be later discussed?
That's something we're discussing in executive session. Okay. Hopefully once we have an agreement, we'll be able to make that public.
Okay, thank you. All right. I want the city to halt all risky developments such as the TERS #2 project, Clubhouse Convention Center, as we're in the middle of a recession and high inflation. The city should provide a moratorium on property taxes for 1 year or more until the economic conditions improve. These monies can come from the $29,000 plus slush fund generated from overtaxation. I know $8,000 has been used to purchase that. So stop playing monopoly with the citizens' monies. The monies are the citizens, not the government. The city's role should be limited in the infrastructure to encourage development, period. When a city government gets involved in actual development, it easily leads to graft and corruption with the citizens having to pick up the tab for decades. For example, you have already blown over $500,000 playing monopoly with citizens' money, and no one has been held accountable. I would have been fired when I was working in the private sector. Yet you have the gall to raise taxes. That's disgraceful. One last thing I request, on major projects over $1 million, the citizens should vote to accept this debt and or risk, because ultimately the citizens carry the burden of these decisions for decades. It's been my observation when the city mayor and city council members are no longer on city council, they leave the city, resolving themselves of any bad decisions they have made. And one other thing is, I did send an email out to everybody because I had some questions. I want to say thank you to Councilwoman Mitchum, Councilwoman McCray, and Councilman James Singleton. They did respond, which I appreciate, but none of the questions were answered. And this is the questions I had. If the city's already receiving more than it needs, again, $29 million slush fund, then why do we need a baseball stadium? Why are we doing this? And again, why did KHDR post a project they'd never been involved in and was forced to remove the link after being called out? Very suspicious. Why was a company with an LLC in Nevada based in California selected? I can't believe that we have to go to Nevada, then go to California to find out. To a company that's never been involved in any sports projects, and we're getting advice from them? That's insane to me. And one last thing, there's a rumor going around, is it true that, are they connected to the failed group Collaborate? Thank you very much, and happy Thanksgiving for everybody.
Thank you, Jim. The next card I have is from Mark Malloy.
Hi, my name's Mark Malloy. I live at 7803 Hamilton Circle, past city council member for the city of Jersey Village, Texas. Citizens' comments for the regularly held 11/21/2022 city council meeting. Please make my verbal comments and documents given to the city secretary a permanent record of this meeting. I'm here tonight to talk to and ask questions of the Jersey Village government officials and city manager about the city's water and wastewater impact fee. There has been recently many city of Jersey Village, Texas homeowners that have been having a discussion on Nextdoor about receiving their water or sewer bill and being significantly shocked to see a much higher bill than they had been getting in the past. I see that the Jersey Village government has increased the water and sewer rates incrementally over the years. The question I have to ask is about the impact fee eligible projects identified in the capital improvements plan. Currently, I see that the JV government is spending $670,000 on a Jones Road extension utility project and $549,543 on an 8-inch Jones Road wastewater line. Is this wastewater line project on the south side of US 290 or on the north side of US 290? Is the water and wastewater fees charged to the citizens increased to accumulate the money to do the above-mentioned projects, and if so, why? The reason that I'm asking this is that I see future planned water and wastewater projects to be built on the south side of US 290 to cost $22,992,000. Is the citizens of Jersey Village expected to pay for these projects in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction with ever-increasing wastewater rates? The Jersey Village government has considered putting a $20 million bond referendum on the May 2022 election ballot and then reduced it to $10 million and then decided not to do a bond referendum. The question I have is, why was the JV government asking the JV taxpayers, or why was the JV government considering asking the JV taxpayers for the money? The JV government has already accumulated an estimated $18 million that they have to do projects that the JV government wants to do, and they are not going to ask the JV taxpayers if they want the projects to be done during an election. Two of these projects are an $11.5 million City Hall and an $8.65 million golf course clubhouse and event center. I think it is only after the Jersey Village citizens have been allowed to vote yes or no on an election ballot to build or not to build these above-mentioned projects that they should be built. And the other question I've got is, did the city sell the TERS 3 lots? You guys took and you put out bids, and then, you received the bids, and so if you sold them, I think you can let me know the answer.
We have not.
Okay. So, like I said on this question is, with the wastewater and water fees that are being charged to the homeowners and all of the rest of the people that have water and wastewater coming to their property, is the amount of money that is charged to them by the city increased to cover the cost of these projects. There's none of that money goes to any of those projects that are going to be done on the other side of US 290.
Not a cent, Mark, and you've been on council, you know how this works.
It's capital improvements money and it's utility fund money, so there's none of it that's being used?
If you're done with your time, I'll answer your question. So, as you know, we do, I think every 5 years, I'm trying to remember, every 5 years, there is an impact fee study and a wastewater and water rate study. And that the impact fee study is specifically done in order to ensure that whatever the actual cost of expanding the water system is completely covered by the impact fees. Impact fees are not something that you pay unless you are asking to have service extended to your property. As far as your question regarding the Jones Road, I'm sorry, your time was up. I was waiting for you to finish, but I'm answering your questions that you posed during your time, and so now my time is to answer those questions. You referred to a project on Jones Road, and granted, I'm up here kind of answering it on the fly. If you'd emailed me and I had a chance to research it, I'd probably have a chance to give you a more accurate answer. But if I'm just having to think off the top of my head, and Austin might be able to confirm or not, I believe that's based on the annexation for the gas station that requested to be annexed.
So all those projects listed in the impact fee study are projects that we would have to do at some point in time if we were to ever extend water and sewer services out there.
So that's the question. Were you asking about a project in the impact fee study or something in the budget?
I was asking about the impact fee study.
Okay, impact fee studies are always hypothetical. So in other words,
they showed the projects that were currently being funded. Those two that I named are being funded at this time.
So if it's not in the current budget, it's not currently being funded. Again, I'm just trying to go off of what information I have in front of me at the moment. If you'd like to email me, I will get you a much more accurate answer. What I can tell you in the general sense is that what you see in the budget and what you see in the actual capital improvement plan for this year are the things that are budgeted for this year. If it's in the impact fee study, it may or may not be underway. Most of that is not underway. Most of it is projected if we built out everything. We try to do our best to project what it would take to build out everything, what that would cost, and based on that, how much we should charge for impact fees for those segments. So again, getting back to your original question, are people who are currently customers in the city of Jersey Village for water and sewer, are they paying for expansion of the system? As you know, the answer is no, because the impact fees are designed to cover that. Now, if you want to go through the impact fee study and argue against the economics and find a problem with how that calculation was done, that's a discussion we can have. And if you find that, I want to know, because that's an important thing that we need to address if those mistakes are made. If we made a mistake in the calculation of the impact fees, then that would be a problem, but that's something we can fix now rather than waiting for those projects to come forward. But absent some issue like that, no. The fees that are paid for service are intended solely for the purpose of maintaining the existing system and for paying for things like water, the things that we have to continue to use in order to have the system in place. So I believe, at least as far as the water system, that should answer all of the questions that you have. If there's any other questions you have, or if you need further clarification, send me an email. That'll give me an opportunity to actually look at the documents, look at what you're looking at, and to ensure that I'm giving you as accurate an answer as possible. Because to be honest, I'm giving you answers right now based off of what I have off the top of my head. So that's the best I can do at the moment. That's why we always encourage people, if they have questions, to contact us by email. But hopefully that'll do for now. So,
all I want
Mark, I'm sorry, but Mark, look, I've spent probably more time than I have with anyone else in public comment and answering those questions. If you have more questions, I'm happy to answer them via email, or I'm sure you'll be back next month. We can do it again. But you had your 5 minutes to ask your questions, and you got them, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon. We always do.
Okay.
So thank you, Mark. The last comment card I have is from Kimberly A. now.
My name is Kimberly Anal, and I live at 15601 Singapore Lane. As my 15th installment on Jersey Village, 1985 continued the proposed changes to village life, while pop culture introduced us to the Golden Girls and Back to the Future. Microsoft Windows 1.0 was released and the first internet domain name registered. In May, Carl Norman was elected and sworn in as mayor, replacing Lynn Terrian. City crews began work on the brick planter at the entrance on Senate Avenue. Harris County Flood Control District requested to install a gauge at the Lakeview Bridge as part of their automated flood warning system. The Houston Chronicle was named as the city's official newspaper. A fund run was scheduled in October as dedicated to the memory of Mr. and Mrs. Tony Maluski's son, Robert, who had recently passed away at age 21. In May 1984 request of four-way stop signs at the intersection of Jersey Drive at Rio Grande and Lakeview was finally approved in December as Ordinance 85-31 at the insistence of Councilman Hubenwright and with support of the police and fire chiefs. Further to traffic safety, resident Bob Biggs requested the installation of a no left turn from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Monday through Friday sign at the intersection of Village Green Drive and Jones Road to alleviate traffic congestion along Village Drive, and Lakeview. There was a proposed in-house traffic study regarding a uniform 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. There was approval to amend the ordinance for city street parking from 48 hours to 24 hours and not park against the flow of traffic. The Planning and Zoning Committee was to review the city's street master plan for the extension of Solomon Street to West Gulf Bank, which was approved by Ordinance 85-6. Then an ordinance was drafted to amend the street master plan to include the extension of Jones Road south from 290 to 529. Fire Chief Frank Marr advised the Ambulance Committee collected approximately $52,000 in donations by June, including a $2,000 donation for audio equipment from Exxon Company USA. From this fund would also pay for new low-band, high-band, and handheld radios for the ambulance, which would soon be delivered from Houston. Authorization was given for the sale of a 1968 Kaiser Jeep used by the fire department. A specific donation was given to purchase and plant a tree dedicated to the city's EMS personnel. The vote was unanimous for the transfer of Fire Marshal Kathy Kell's Peace Officer Commission from JVPD to the city's Fire Marshal Office. Fire Marshal Kell advised the 911 equipment installation would be completed in August. Council approved the state-funded Crime Prevention Special Law Enforcement Officer Program, which named the newly appointed Sergeant Mike Kelly for this position. Immediate approval for the replacement of the police chief's vehicle was given to purchase a used 1984 police package vehicle with many other extras for $9,723. During 1985, the police department had 4,185 calls for service, 229 vehicle accidents, and 765 arrests, while the volunteer fire department had 357 calls for service. Chairperson of the Sesquicentennial Committee, Tippy Carmody, advised the sanctioning ceremony would be held on July 4th, where a flag would be awarded to the city. The chairperson requested use of a Jersey cow logo on the commemorative coffee mug for the 150th birthday celebration of Texas. Suggestions for a time capsule, location, and contents was also requested from this committee. Finally, approval to accept the generous donation of the eastern portion of Mr. and Mrs. Rodney Newton's residential lot occurred, which became Welwyn Park, home to the recently installed zip line. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. All right. That brings us to item F, City Manager's Report. Austin Blease.
Mayor and Councilors, the report's in front of you, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for the city manager on his report?
With regard to any discrepancies in water bills, the process, we haven't found any systematic issues with that. The process is still the same. They should report to the city. And
Right, yeah, we've put information on the website. If people have concerns about their water bill, reach out to us. We can get a data log and look at it. It does look like there's, we've seen it all summer long, there's a very strong correlation between water bills going up and drought conditions occurring. So water meters are read on the 25th of every month, and so if your water bill is high, that's based upon your usage from September 26th through October 25th.
And I know that at various times, and we had talked about the automated reading in which citizens can actually see their daily, if not minute by minute, hour by hour usage. Is that project? How's that project going?
That project is underway. We're waiting for the company. They've ordered the antennas and everything. They said there's expecting delivery of those by late summer. So by late summer, hopefully we'll have those installed and the new system, or that system, up and running for people to access.
Great. Thank you.
And Austin, it may be a good time to bring up that at least in the meantime, until we get the system in place, my understanding has been that when citizens have questions regarding water usage, if they can't quite figure out how they possibly were using X amount of gallons, my understanding is they can contact the water billing department and they can provide them a report showing their usage, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we can send the guys out there to read the meter to get that data log on an hourly basis for the last 90 days or so, I believe it is, and we can share that with the residents.
Yeah, a couple times, I mean, not this recent time, but at least during the last stretch of time where it was pretty dry, that seemed to help some people figure out exactly where that water usage was happening. It's once you have more information, it seems like you can kind of start putting two together and figure out what was happening.
And one thing that we've noticed is that if you have an older water sprinkler systems, electronic timers, if the power flickers, that can reset it. So some people can inadvertently end up watering their grass twice in a day, which can definitely impact the water usage.
That's good to know. Any other questions for the city manager regarding his report? Nope. Okay, then we will move along to the consent agenda. Is there any council member who wishes to remove an item from the consent agenda for consideration under the regular agenda?
In the spirit of our water heavy and impact study discussions, I'd like to remove number 7 from the consent agenda. But also at this time bring up that item G2 is a report that we'll consent to receive from the Planning and Zoning Committee that they issued last month regarding the impact study and projects that are could be ongoing, and just kind of goes line by line on that.
Thank you. That's a good note to make there. Okay, so item G7 will be considered at the top of the regular agenda. Does any other council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda for consideration in the regular agenda?
I don't want to move to regular agenda. I just wanted to make a comment on G5 and 6 on how much I do appreciate the continued application for grants to pay for things in the city, knowing that there's $8 million that you're trying to take off the bottom line is just amazing. Thank you.
All right. Unless there's any other items to pull, I would entertain a motion at this time regarding the modified consent agenda.
I move that we approve the modified consent agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The modified consent agenda passes, which will bring us to the one item pulled from the consent agenda. That'll be item G7. Consider ordinance number 2022-42, amending the utility fund budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2022 and ending September 30th, 2023 in the amount not to exceed $102,500 by increasing line item 02467131 from the utility fund balance to cover the cost of the Highway 290 lift station road rehabilitation project, awarding the bid and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Q Recycling and Construction Services, Inc. for the Highway 290 lift station road rehabilitation project. Robert Bassford, Assistant City Manager.
Yes, good evening, Council, Mayor Council. This agenda line item is to discuss the lift station road located behind the Subaru. On November 8th, 2022, city staff received bid documents for the rehab of the lift station access road located at 1706 Northwest Freeway. The 4 responsive bids were received for the project were Q Recycling and Construction, which was the low bid, Principal Plant Services, Ford Construction Company, Inc., Conrad Construction Co., and the scope of work at minimum will include the mobilization for construction and general items, including SWIP structures, earthwork, tree shrub removal, true grid paving and stabilized subgrade, remove and dispose of storm sewers, 18 and 24-inch storm sewer connect to the existing storm manhole, and concrete slope protection. The city staff worked with our consulting engineer firm, Garza EMC, to ensure bidding was conducted in compliance with all applicable federal and state and local standards. The cost to rehabilitate the road will be paid through utility CIP funding factored in the 2022-23 fiscal year budget. However, a budget amendment is needed in the amount of $102,500. That does not cover in the project budget. Q Recycling and Construction Services to perform similar storm sewer utilities and construction-related services for various entities and has extensive experience in the construction service industry. Q Recycling submitted the low responsible bid, and it is staff's as well as Garza EMC's recommendation to move forward.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any discussion on this item?
Just real quick, Robert. When we, I know from our last meeting with the P&Z group, some of those estimates stem from the 2020-2019 fund. Is that where this original estimate we think came from, the 126?
No, I believe this estimate came from our former Public Works Director.
Okay, and just over time, it's with the inflation, et cetera. Appreciate that.
I mean, I will say the one thing is I would be more worried if bids were all over the place, like if we had bids that were double or triple each other. But the one thing that kind of just gave me a sense that this just simply is what it is that all of the bids were within about $70,000 of each other, which is a bit of a spread, but it usually indicates that that's just costs have increased. So, I mean, one thing that I want to make sure it's clear is because based on the agenda item, it probably wasn't 100% clear, but this is this is a road leading to a lift station that needs to be rehabilitated. This has been something that's been known for a while and needed to be done, and so. Yeah, this is kind of part of just some of the routine maintenance work that we have to do to keep that infrastructure operating correctly. Any other discussion or questions regarding this particular item? If not, I would entertain a motion on the ordinance at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd motion that we approve ordinance number 2022-42.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. Which brings us to our regular agenda. Item H1, consider ordinance number 2022-44, amending the general fund budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022, in the amount not to exceed $430,725 to amend various line items from the general fund balance. For all these amendments are in order to provide for the over budget line items. Isabel Cato, Finance Director.
Yes. Every year before we go through the audit, I have to go over the line items, and some of those line items need to be adjusted, especially when, like, for salaries, if we have a person that retires. And the other one was to the grants and incentive in Fund 12, because we pay because since we collected so much sales tax, we have to pay more grants and incentives. So mainly those are the biggest one. So I went over all the line items and I put it in a list, and they're added to the agenda.
Okay, great. Any discussion amongst council regarding this item?
So, Isabel, this is basically just an administrative item to clean things up.
Correct, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just to flesh that out for folks who may be watching online or for the folks in the audience, anytime we get to the end of the fiscal year, anytime there may be situations where we have expenditures that may have exceeded certain line items at the very end of the year, we're required to go in and kind of clean this up and make sure that everything is budgeted correctly. It doesn't result in any additional expenditures. It's really just about making sure that the items all line up.
Yes.
And so most of these are all very small things. Isabel, like you mentioned, one of them is actually a very good thing, because what it means is we got a lot more in sales tax from some of these entities that we entered into an agreement to get them to come in, where we refunded them a certain percentage of sales tax, and so that just means we received so much more sales tax revenue from these entities than we expected, and so of course that means we had to pay more in terms of those rebates.
Correct.
So that's always a good thing. And the rest of it, like I said, looks like it's about 20 or so line items, a lot of little things here and there that you would expect to kind of be a little higher than normal, like fuel and oil, obviously, kind of shot up there towards the end. So any other questions or discussion on this?
I'll move to approve ordinance number 2022-44.
I'll second.
I'll go ahead and give this to Councilmember Shepherd this time. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. That brings us to item H2, consider ordinance number 2022-45, amending the general fund, utility, and capital improvement fund budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2022, and ending September 30th, 2023, in the amount not to exceed $650,000 to adjust line items in the general fund 01109601, interest by $463,000, 01129760, transfer to capital improvement fund by $500,000, and the utility fund 02409601, interest by $70,000, and in the capital improvement fund 10909751, transfer from the general fund by $500,000, and 10917056, Carol Fox Park sandbox renovation by $150,000. Isabel Cato, Finance Director.
When we worked on the budget back in April and May, we projected very low interest because back then the interest rate was not as high as it is now. So while I was working on the reports for October, I realized that in the general fund, we had budgeted only $37,000, but we had collected $42,000 in interest. So when I look, of course, when you look at tax pool and when you look at the monies that we interest that we get from Wells Fargo, the interest rates went up substantially. So based on that, I also met with somebody in tax pool to make sure that they were correct. And yes, based on that, we're projecting that we'll receive at least $500,000 in interest for the general fund this year. Also, in the utility fund, we only projected at $20,000, and just in the month of October, we collected 40% of those revenues. So that's why we felt that we should increase the interest in the revenues, and also we will transfer those funds to the capital improvement fund to work on projects that we need to work for the community, right? In the utility fund, we kept the interest in there because the utility fund has the capital improvement in the ARM fund. So that's the reason for this budget amendment.
Well, good. This is like the flip side to the last thing we just approved. We're now looking at the unexpected increase in revenues from interest rates. So that's good to hear. It's very, very good to hear. Any discussion or questions regarding this item from council?
I know that there is one expenditure listed in this item, and we can talk about that in a second. I want to say that for any citizens that were going through this and trying to figure out how there were $650,000 on the item, it says $650,000 expenditure. It's $500,000 transfer, and amongst that transfer, and it's been a while since I did my accounting T's, but since that, you move the $500,000 over, and then amongst that $500,000 pool, you have a $150,000 allocation that would be a spend for the Carol Fox sandbox. So that's a relatively new item, but we're not dealing with $650,000 in this item.
It's just the total amount of change.
Thank you for that explanation. I'll move to approve ordinance number 2022-45.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just for clarification, Robert, can you send a couple sentences on the sandbox?
So the sandbox, Carroll Fox sandbox renovation was a CIP project put in the schedule a couple years ago, I believe. But basically what this would pertain would be new sand, new borders, a concrete retaining wall, as well as a play structure that's sand-friendly for the children aged 1 to 4. We're calling it like a mini city, but basically it'll have a play structure in there as well. Yes, we just didn't want to take away the tires and not put anything in their place.
And I'll add to that this was a project that we talked about during the budgeting process, but we pulled out because of the funding. So now that we have the funding, we figured we would put it back in.
Great. We do have a motion and a second.
We do have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. That brings us to item H3, consider resolution number 2022-71, receiving the Planning and Zoning Commission's final report concerning the proposal to amend the Jersey Village Code of Ordinances at Chapter 14, Building and Development, Article 1, General, Section 14-5, Definitions, by amending definitions for certain uses. Rick Faircloth, Planning and Zoning Commission Chairman.
Good evening. P&Z met after the public hearing we had and reviewed those list of definitions that were proposed, and we had no changes to those, and we had a unanimous vote on the adoption. So that's reflected in the final report, and Lori has that report, and everything's ready to go forward.
Great. Okay. Any questions for the P&Z chairman? Keeping in mind that this resolution is simply receiving the report, we will deal with the ordinance making the change in the following item.
I move that we approve Resolution 2022-71 to receive the Planning and Zoning report.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The resolution passes unanimously. That brings us to item H4, consider ordinance number 2022-46, amending Chapter 14, Building and Development, Article 1, General, Section 14-5, Definitions, by amending definitions for certain uses, providing a severability clause, providing for a repeal, providing a penalty as provided by Section 1-8 of the Code, and providing an effective date. Lori Cootie, City Secretary.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is to approve the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. They have previously met. They've prepared their preliminary report, which was submitted on November 2-1, and they also conducted the public hearing on November 2-1, and all of the other procedural requirements have been met, and it's time for the council to consider these changes to our code.
All right, thank you. Discussion from council on this ordinance.
My understanding is we're just making a few small wording changes in order to take the gray out of things and make it more clear.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what you have is, and just whenever these definitions were added for hookah bar lounge, junk salvage yard, restaurant, the word primary or primarily was entered into as, a function of common language, but that can cause problems if you have, say a restaurant doesn't serve 100% or 51% food, then is it a primary use? So removing that word primary or primarily cleans up the definitions, help these uses be more specific for your code.
This is the classic situation where lawyers kind of get poked in the eye, is that when we talk normally, we have a certain sense of what primarily means. When it comes to a situation where you have to have a bright line, that can be tricky, as opposed to saying like 51% or more of sales would probably be the preferred way if that's what you meant. But obviously that's not quite what we meant, and so we decided to clean it up. So just taking primarily out and just saying where the use is for these things.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 2022-46.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The ordinance passes unanimously. Which brings us to mayor and council comments. I'll go ahead and start with our folks who are remote. We'll go ahead and start with James Singleton. Short and sweet, I like it. Councilmember McCray. Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Wasson.
I like their method of being short and sweet. I might go just a little bit longer. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Congrats to the city and its staff on being named by the Houston Chronicle as a best place to work in the Houston area. I know a lot of work went into that, and congrats to Austin and your staff. Congrats to those who were commended and recognized as being wonderful workers in this wonderful place to work. And one last thing, congrats to the Jersey Village High School football and volleyball teams who made it to the state playoffs, which is always an achievement. So, and don't forget the parade and Holiday in the Park coming up in December.
Councilmember Shepherd.
I just wanted to say thank you to Chief Riggs for your leadership. I think it's very much a testament, seeing these guys that were commended this evening. They obviously respect you, and we really appreciate them being here. And then I'd like to just wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Councilmember Mitchell.
I will also say happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your feast. And congratulations on the Houston Chronicle Award. That is no small feat. And then also I just wanted to say I really enjoyed their hats. I hope that all of them have those. That was my favorite part of that. I mean, the awards also are very awesome, but
the police are the hats and the fire department are the mustaches.
Heyo, let's do it. Please remember, if you wanted to enter into the parade for the Parade of Lights, there's an application online, and you can find all of that handy on the app. Correct, Robert? Yes. All right.
Okay, great. So congrats to everyone who was recognized tonight, and congrats to Austin and everyone here for being recognized as one of the best places in Houston to work. Our city staff is a huge part of what makes this city great. All of the things that we take for granted as far as parks being maintained and our city being kept safe and our homes being kept from catching, or at least from falling, burning to the ground if they catch fire. All of these little, big and little things all happen because of the work that our city staff puts in, the dedication that they have, and having a quality place where good people want to come and work is extraordinarily important, and we are very happy to see that recognition. Seeing something that we knew was already the case, all of the happy faces we see around here already kind of told us that was probably the case, but to get a little external validation, I think it was very important and well-deserved, so congratulations. Like I mentioned earlier, I said I was going to mention this during my comments, and so I will go ahead and reemphasize it. If you read my mayor's newsletter, I talked a little bit about the proposed baseball stadium that's been considered for a while now. Obviously, people have a lot of questions, and so we wanted to, I want to give Councilmember McCray a lot of credit for really spearheading this. We are going to have two town halls. The first one is going to be Monday, December 5th of this year. The next one's going to be early in the following year, Monday, January 12th, 2023. Again, those are dates that are in my mayor's newsletter. I'm sure we will be publishing those on the city website, on social media, all of that to make sure that as many people know about it as possible. It will happen here. We will have, or at least we're going to post it in such a way where all of council can appear, so we'll be all legit under the Texas Open Meetings Act, but that will give an opportunity for citizens to ask questions, to get a better understanding of kind of where we are in the process, and hopefully that will help for us to get some feedback from y'all, to better understand some of your concerns, to better look at this a little bit more closely, and to kind of understand where we want to go as a city. This is definitely something we want to make sure that we're looking at all together and making the best decision as a community. And of course, the last thing, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. It's been, I'm just glad that we are kind of as back to normal as possible as we have been during the course of the pandemic. I almost can't even believe it's still technically a pandemic. I'd rather just think that it's not. We're just going to enjoy Thanksgiving as is, like we always have, and thank God. So with that, City Council is now going to retire to a closed session at 8:21 p.m. pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, Section 551.072, deliberations about real property, and Section 551.071, consultations with attorney in connection with the following item. Pursuant to the Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, Section 551.072, deliberations about real property, and Section 551.071, consultations with attorney. A closed meeting to deliberate information from a business prospect that the city seeks to locate in Jersey Village TERS number 2, and economic development negotiations, including the possible purchase, exchange, or value of real property related thereto. We will return to open session and continue with the remainder of tonight's agenda after the closed session deliberations are concluded. I assume y'all can hear us on this end? Just testing, guys, the remote guys. Can you hear me?
You can't hear us, Jen?
Okay, just to kind of get through the procedural stuff while they're dealing with that. The closed session was adjourned at 9:20 p.m. and no official action or vote was conducted during the closed session. We're going to hold up just a moment to ensure that the two members who are currently remote can hear us and that we can hear them. So we're just going to pause here for a moment. Okay, can you guys hear me now? There we go. Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, can.
Okay, great. I already dispensed with the formality of bringing us back into the regular session while we were working on that. So that brings us to item M1, discuss and take appropriate action regarding items discussed in closed session regarding information from a business prospect that the city seeks to locate in Jersey Village, TERS number 2, and economic development negotiations, including the possible purchase, exchange, or value of real property related thereto. Austin Blease, City Manager.
Mayor and councilors, in executive session, we talked about a letter of intent for TERS 2, and the council can discuss and take action on that this evening.
Okay. I want to give, before we go to a motion on anything, I just want to make sure we give an opportunity if anyone has any questions. Or obviously, we've discussed it in closed session, but if there's any discussion that any member wants to have out here in the regular session before we move to a vote.
Did you want to say something?
I was going to bring up the idea that this is a non-binding letter of intent, and it helps move the ball forward towards an opportunity that I think is great for the city of Jersey Village with what it entails. I think this gives us, making it more public, gives us an opportunity to have those discussions in the public with citizens and residents and interested parties. So I'm excited about moving forward with this process.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, Drew. The key there being that non-binding, we're still having these discussions, we're still trying to determine the best path forward, but the key part of that is, as we mentioned earlier tonight, we want to have an opportunity to discuss with citizens. We've got a couple of town halls planned. This is a great opportunity for us to get a lot of information that we know that's been discussed, that now, because it's being voted upon in the public record, is something that now we can begin to discuss in more detail with the public to get their feedback before we make a final decision down the road. So I think it's a good thing in that regard, just to ensure we have ample opportunity to get as much citizen feedback as possible.
Yeah, and I'll echo on that. We have a lot of discussion in the back that I know a lot of citizens would love to also have a seat at that table and have open dialogue with us. But, in that specific moment we aren't allowed to. So,
and I apologize, council member. I just got, my understanding is that we have technical issues again. Can you guys not hear us? No, you can hear me. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. I guess I must have just gotten a text message from you like a while back. Sorry, my apologies. I thought they couldn't hear us just now.
No worries. I was just saying that a lot of citizens, they would like us to sit at the table when we have these discussions in open dialogue. And so by moving forward with this letter of intent, that's not binding. It's just allowing us to have, pull up a few more chairs at the table and then have open dialogue with anybody who has questions.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, James.
I'd just like to say I think it's a very positive opportunity for the city, and I look forward to having that dialogue to again talk about what this is and more so what it isn't. So definitely plan to participate in the upcoming town halls.
One point of clarification, just while everyone's here and we're in open meeting, and I want to make sure that I get this right. Austin, on the material you sent out, which contains the LOI, only the upon the vote happening, only the LOI itself is public, correct? Not the accompanying memorandum, correct? So just so everyone's clear, only the part, the LOI on KHJR letterhead is public. The memorandum that's included is still confidential under the Texas Open Meetings Act. If I would just add an abundance of precaution to make sure it doesn't, because it's got some calculations that are for our purposes of evaluating the proposal. If you have any doubts whatsoever as to what is public or isn't, as we discussed, Austin's going to update the Town Center webpage and include information regarding the stadium. That would be the best source for clarity as to what is public information if there's any doubt. So, just to be safe. Unless there's any further discussion, sounds like everyone had an opportunity to chime in. I would entertain a motion at this time. Go ahead.
I make a motion that we approve the city manager to sign the letter of intent with KHJR.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All of those against? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. And so with that, meeting adjourned.